passion for water. Water is one of the critical pain points in the society today. There is road, and then there is water. Some people have different priorities. At one occasion, I visited a community, and there was a group of persons complaining. And I said, all right, if you could get one, which would you take? And you know, most people in that crowd said, we'll take the road, because if we have the road, we can go and get the water. But that certainly was not the priority for the lady I met in Northeast Manchester, who told me that she is 76 years old, and from she's a child, she's carrying water on her head, and she can't carry water on her head anymore. This is a serious issue. It's not sufficient to say, well, the problem has been with us forever, it's a perennial problem, because the expectation of the society is that as we progress, as we become more modern in our outlook, we should improve the infrastructure and access to this amenity for all Jamaicans. So it's not sufficient to measure the access of water by being within 1 mile or 100 meters of a water main. It's not sufficient to say there's a standpipe near you. It's not sufficient to say that the water main passes your home. Now, everybody wants the water, the potable water, in their home, not in an out bathroom, but in an ensuite bathroom, in their home. And that is indeed the standard of expectation. So, Minister Samuda, that is what we have to meet for the people of Jamaica. How do we get potable water in their homes? It is a big task, because the expectations don't always match the level of resources that are available. So the challenge is multidimensional, and one of the first dimensions of the problem that we have to conquer is to increase the size of the economy and the pace of growth of the economy so that we can get more revenue, so that we can invest in the infrastructure. The second challenge is that we are already investing in water. There is already a budget. How do we get this to be efficiently used? That the dollar that we're currently spending, how do we get more gallons of water for it? So the efficiency of the entities that we are already funding, we have to get that going. So the original mandate that was given to Minister Samuda would be to increase the water supply throughout the country, to give people more access. But I'm being now a little bit more granular to say that we have to be far more efficient in the management of the resources that we have in water. And so that is now a directive to you about the efficiency of the resources that we have. We have been on that course because you may recall that a few years ago, the NWC would be viewed as a fiscal risk to the government, an entity that is highly indebted, that at any time those debts could become the debt of the central government. And indeed, in our history, there have been times when the central government has had to take on and pay off the NWC's debt. That's part of the growth of the national debt burden. We have not had to do that, thankfully, in any major way for the NWC. We still help to ensure that they can meet a pay bill or, meet some expense or some issues that have occurred unexpected. But we really haven't had to do that so much from a capital perspective. The NWC's balance sheet is looking the best that it has ever been. And we need to ensure that that continues and that the NWC becomes even more efficient. The drive to protect our water sources as well is another area of specific effort that Minister Samuda would have to pay attention to. So the environment portfolio will come into play in a critical way in ensuring that we do have water for our population, because believe it or not, the land of wood and water, that the water part of it might very well become scarce. We're seeing longer and more intensive periods of drought and more unpredictable rainfall, which makes it very difficult to plan for the delivery of water. So the management of the water resource is going to be a critical element. So you have your job cut out for you, Minister, but know that you have my support, and you're right there in the ministry. But you are the one who will have to take on the challenges and lead them directly. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you back to the cabinet, and you start work immediately. Excellency, I wish to thank you, Excellency, for being so gracious in accommodating us, sometimes at very short notice. Just for the record, Excellency, I believe I need to say it, because the public sometimes, because of years of miseducation on this matter, may view the role of the Governor General in these matters as purely ceremonial. It is not. The Governor General heads the state, and we are officers of the state, and it is the Governor General's imprimatur by the Constitution that gives us the authority. So we don't take it for granted that His Excellency makes the time to accommodate us at short notice. I make this point to say that in our form of government, the head of state is the representation of the dignity of the state, but also the efficiency and effectiveness of the state. And what governments must always strive to do is to maintain the dignity, but above all else, to be efficient and effective. And what you would have seen in this administration is government without disruption, stable government, government that is seamless, and government that continues. And His Excellency has been very supportive of the effectiveness and efficiency of the government. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I now invite Minister Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, to give his response. Minister.
Your Excellency, the Governor General, Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Cabinet colleagues, parliamentary colleagues, Madam Permanent Secretary, family, my dear wife, friends. I am parents. I am very grateful for the third time to be sworn in to the Cabinet. It is not lost on me, Prime Minister, that you have expressed your trust and faith in me and my work 3 times. I will be very efficient with my response, because the first meeting at the ministry is indeed at 1 p.m., Prime Minister, so work does get started immediately. A lot of persons did not understand the construct of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation when you formed it, Prime Minister, in 2016. And there were a lot of questions when that ministry was formed. As it is named, one would argue that the achievement is in front of us. So the desperate need for economic growth in 2016 has been achieved. The desperate need for job creation has also been achieved with the lowest unemployment rate that we have. So the very intent of the ministry, in many ways, in its initial phase, has been achieved. But an element that wasn't widely understood, which I hold dearly, comes from a quote that I will borrow from you, Prime Minister, where you cannot have economic development against the backdrop of environmental degradation, and you cannot have prosperity steeped in pollution. And that is what we have sought to achieve over these past few years with the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. This is why the environmental portfolio, and indeed the portfolio for climate change, is within the area of, or rather the superintendence of the ministry. And though I haven't seen my formal assignment, Prime Minister, I assume that to still be the case. But it is because as a small island developing state, our aspirations, our ambitions, our development agenda is always at threat, is always at risk for factors sometimes that are outside of our control. It is why within the microclimate, within the management of our environment, within this small, beautiful Jamaica land we love, we have to be particularly careful with our development agenda. And that is what we have sought to do. And I commit today to redouble our efforts to ensure that all Jamaicans are very clear that this government holds the environment, holds the microclimate, holds your sustainable development dear to its heart. I know the Prime Minister in particular does. It is why we have had reforms. It is why we have had the greatest efforts at land protection in our history. We have the largest protected area in the Caribbean with the Cockpit Country Protected Area, something that was discussed for some 4 decades, and a brave decision was taken by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet to protect it. Among many other achievements, this government has committed to protecting 30% of its land mass by 2030. Prime Minister, I've already committed to you that we will complete that protection by 2025. We are working also to ensure that we complete the work to protect 30% of our awesome marine space by 2030. Prime Minister, we will meet your target. That is particularly critical because those elements all go into the water supply. They all go into whether or not we are able to supply our people with fresh water. Jamaicans have been accustomed to being called the land of wood and water and having access to potable water from freshwater sources. If the environment is not managed properly and our water resources are not managed properly, that becomes compromised and other options have to be taken. It is why that is particularly important. Now, outside of the environment, it is particularly important that in many ways we increase the efficiency of our investment, but certainly the size of our investment in an aging, creaking infrastructure that we all know and have spoken about over the years. And I commit, Prime Minister, to ensure that within our framework of governance, that we efficiently deploy every dollar of capital in a manner that the country is comfortable with, that delivers water to as many Jamaicans as quickly as possible. Because through my own recent experience, Prime Minister, the country is happy for macroeconomic stability. But as you have said, they're looking for the dividends now by way of service delivery. And one of those areas is indeed in water. So I commit to use every waking moment to ensure that we move along the mission to peace, productivity, and prosperity. I thank you again, Your Excellency. I thank you, Prime Minister, for the confidence, and we are ready to work.
Thank you very much, Minister Samuda. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this function. On behalf of the Governor General, I thank you for attending this important ceremony as a mark of your support to the newly sworn-in minister. Congratulations, Minister, and we wish you every blessing in the execution of your duties. I know that we're supposed to have a photo opportunity at the front of the drawing room, so I ask for us to prepare for that. Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you for coming out.